Well, welcome you all so-and-sos to Gabbin' and Games. It is I, your Papa Jaffe. That is Alex Plox from his Off-Worlds album. Alex is one of our great God of War members. We'll talk about them a little bit later, but he's always creating such wonderful music to open our shows with. Check him out at the link tree that you'll find below. Well, it's been a hot minute. I can't believe I said it's been a hot minute. My God, I'm 51 years old. Welcome to Gabbin' and Games. It is the weekend edition. We are on July, what is it, the 9th, 8th? It's Saturday, July 9th, 2022. It's good to have you here. We have a lot of video game news to talk about. I hope you've been well. I hope you're staying safe. COVID's on the rise where I am, and at least in California. Also in New York, it's getting pretty bad out there. I want to let you know also a format change, and then we're going to jump right into some great news, tell you what I've been playing. Before we even do any of that, I just want to give you a heads up. Right now, for the rest of the weekend, so I wanted to put this at the top of the show in case you're like, yeah, I'll listen to your show later, Jaffe, but I want to play that. Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle, the sequel's coming out this year. It looks great. The press has played it, say it's great. The first one, though, is free right now on Switch. You don't own it. They're just letting you download it or stream it. I think it's a download. You can download it and get it and play it for the weekend. I've never played it, so I'll be playing it tomorrow or late tonight. I hear it's the bee's knees. I love games like this. It's like turn-based strategy. The new one is apparently a significant departure from this, but this should at least give you an idea of what to expect. But they're doing some key things with the play mechanics in the new one in terms of moving even during turn-based combat that sounds like it's going to differentiate it. But anyway, Rabbids Mario Kingdom Battle, it's free on Switch right now. Go check it out over on the Nintendo website. Okay, I wanted to tell you real quick about a format change. So there's going to be two shows for here on out. There's going to be Gabbin' and Games, which is this, and there's going to be a show called Gabbin' and Games Live. You can already see that demarcated on the YouTube channel. We've done a couple of Gabbin' and Games Live this last week. This is the first official Gabbin' and Games since we've made the format change. What is the format change, good Sir Jaffe? Well, I will tell you, it is... I've come to a conclusion, fellas and fillettes, that the show is better when its goal is to dive into video games and news and philosophy and all that, when either I have a couple of guests or it's just me talking. It allows me to edit things out of the show. It allows the pace to be better. It allows it to be more focused. But I would hate to lose the joy of the live show. So Gabbin' and Games Live will still be happening a couple times a week. And Gabbin' and Games proper, which is this, will be happening a couple of times a week. The live show is going to be all about audience interaction. There'll still be news. There'll still be a format. We'll be talking about the news of the day in terms of games. But it's going to be a lot sloppier. You're probably not going to love listening back to it all that much unless you just got a massive crush on me, in which case, of course, listen all the time. I would fuck me. I would. Well, no, I wouldn't. God, would you fuck yourself? Let's think. Let's pray. Would you fuck yourself? I don't like the men folk, okay? Men are great. I love being a man. I'm not into the men folk at a erotic, sexual thing. But if I was over there and I was saying to myself, come fuck me, and I knew, I would do it if I would get the pleasure that I would be giving myself, right? Because I know exactly what I like. People are like, Jaffe, just masturbate. What is wrong with you? Just stop. I have the ADD. Let us focus. Let us get into the news. I want to tell you what I've been playing. I've been playing a lot because there's a lot of games out that are brand new that they're kind of showing you, say, hey, come try this fucking thing. So I could not sleep the other night. As you guys may know, I'm a huge Hearthstone fan, and the guy who directed Hearthstone, plus some of the team, Ben Brode, went over, started his own company. I think it's called like Second Course or Second Dinner or Second Dessert. I don't fucking know. And they're making a game called Marvel Snap. We did a live stream when they announced it a couple of months ago. I got into the beta, but I don't own an Android phone. So I got up, I got an alert on my phone. Hey, you're in the beta. I get up, it's 3 a.m. Fuck it. I got to play this damn thing. So I download BlueStack 5, which is like the PC emulator of Android phones. And I get into this, and obviously it doesn't work very well. A, because it's a beta, but more importantly, because I'm doing it through this emulation, and it's an online game, and it kept crashing between matches. So I only got in a couple of proper matches of Marvel Snap. It's hard from that perspective to know how this is going to go, right? I'm still playing Hearthstone. It came out in 2016. I took a break for a number of design reasons that seem to have gotten resolved in terms of the meta, or the obsession of the game being about the meta. That seems to have abated a bit, thank God, because that was a key reason it drove me away. But Marvel Snap, I don't know if I'll be a lifer on Marvel Snap. I obviously have given it barely any time. It seems maybe it'll be a little too shallow. There's also this weird thing that I can't tell if it's a pay-to-win mechanic where you can level up your cards, but I don't know what you get from leveling up your cards. Is it just cosmetic? Is it one of those, yeah, you could pay to accelerate the gameplay, but it won't affect anything? I have no idea. So that's a little, so I'm still on the fence, but the art is beautiful. The thematic is beautiful. There's some fresh ideas in it. So I'm looking forward to it whenever they drop this fucking thing on iOS. Also, and you can do this as well. This is running all weekend. This game over on the Epic Game Store, you can also get it on console. Rumbleverse network test. I wouldn't even call it a beta. It's not like this is ready to come out tomorrow. This is just testing the network. You would absolutely be forgiven if you looked at this and was like, oh God, another fucking Fortnite. And in a lot of ways, it's like that. And I've only played a couple of matches, and I think I'm kind of good. What's fun about it is it's a lot more melee combat, and we're seeing more of that in the Battle Royale and the online space in general. It's nice to see what's the blade that just came, Blade of Narako or whatever the fuck it's called, that just came out on Game Pass. That's been on PC for a long time, but that obviously a lot of navigation, a lot of melee attacks. And then I just signed up for the Bandai Namco has a closed beta test announced. It isn't live yet. PS4 only. I don't know if it's only on PS4, but this is the beta for My Hero, Academia. The anime. I don't watch this show, but if you look at the trailer, I have it running on the screen while we're talking. What's cool about it, obviously, is if you watch the manga, watch the anime, read the manga, whatever, clearly all these kids have a lot of cool powers, and I like the idea of superhero battle royale. Like, I would love a Marvel or I would love a DC game where you are fighting superheroes, and I figured this is kind of the closest I can get to it. So I like the trend where we're seeing battle royale getting into more melee and a lot of cool navigation, and in terms of, like, in Rumble City, you're able to, like, grab on things and, like, scurry up them and climb, and this guy in Academia is able to sort of make an ice bridge and run on it, and then he can kind of do wall runs and stuff. So it's starting to get a little bit more rich in the abilities of the characters. It's not just shooting, and obviously none of these I don't think are building, like, you can build environments. You might have a power that brings up a wall, but it's not like Fortnite in that way. So I'm excited, but the negative is, for me, I played Rumble City for 2 matches and I was kind of done. I might go back, but again, it's one of those things. There's so much to play, and clearly I don't know, actually. I was going to say clearly there's an audience for these kinds of games. I still remain on the fence regarding how much of the success of PUBG and then Fortnite was lightning in a bottle, and how much of it was just design and marketing. Because there's, especially Fortnite is such about the social aspect now, and such about hanging out with your friends if you're of a certain age and whatnot, that all these other battle royale games that have come and nobody has shown up, it just does kind of make you wonder. We'll talk about another one in a couple of minutes that is trying to keep its head above water, and it's just like, put it on the list. Another big online game that these publishers have invested a lot of money in, that's just kind of gone poof, and it's like, I'm dying to know the lessons these guys take from it. Absolutely. But anyway, if you want to sign up, going over to Bandai Namco website, and you'll see where it is. And it's, I don't know, I'm going to give it a try, My Hero Academia. So I'm excited about that. But I've been playing Rumble City a little bit. Also, now this is a weird one, fellas. This is Neon White. And I'll play it while we're talking. Neon White is a game from Annapurna, one of the most consistently high quality game publishers on the planet. They are a phenomenal group of people. I know some of them as personal people, they're great, but as a ability to execute consistently high quality, unique, interesting titles, Annapurna's than these bees. They got Stray coming out, I think, next week or the week after. A lot of people are saying that's game of the year. I don't know why they're saying that. Nobody's played it beyond people working on it, but that's what people are saying. So this is Neon White. It's got kind of a cool art style. I was kind of staying away from this for a little bit because, I heard it was like a speed run game, and I fucking hate speed runs. I appreciate people who can do it, but they make me too fucking nervous. And I was like, yeah, no. But I've heard so many good things that I bit the bullet. I bought it. It's like a $24, $23 game. And this is a weird fucking game, man, because the gameplay is just, the minute I played it, like within 10 minutes, I'm like, this is a 2022, maybe not game of the year contender, but certainly easily slots itself into the top 10. The navigation, the card aspect of collecting cards in the level and how they help you move through the level, and they have multiple functions, and it's just, I can't sell you on it other than I hope somebody puts a demo out and you try it, because it's just a sublime, it has the same kind of heart and soul as Ultra Kill, Severed Steel. It's that kind of first person shooter navigator that you just kind of, the minute you touch the controls, you're like, this feels so goddamn good, right? The speedrun thing is not really a problem. The levels are so small and you don't have to go fast. That's just sort of one of the things you can do. But if you want to play it just like a shooter, you can, or a shooter navigator puzzly thing, you can. Here's where it gets a little weird though. So I got through like the first 15 levels or whatever. I skipped a bunch of the opening cinematics. I'm like, I don't care. I care. I've said many times, people who watch my shit, I care about the lore after I care about the game. Don't fucking bore the fuck out of me. I bought a game. I can turn on Hulu or Amazon or whatever, Disney, Netflix, and watch a movie. But I bought a game. So let me fucking play. Let me interact. Let me get what I came for. And then if I care, start drip feeding me the lore, right? That's how I feel. A lot of people like to sit down with the game and watch a 20-minute cutscene to get immersed. I'm already there. But anyway, so my first impression with this is what I was just showing you, this amazing fluid navigation and really clever gameplay. I'm like, I'm in. This is fucking great. But then it reveals that it is a cross between really kind of a visual novel and that gameplay. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to hang with this or not, because I'm going to try, but those are two very different places my brain needs to be, right? When I want to play this super fluid adrenaline rush of a game, I'm usually not in the headspace that I also want to sit and read a bunch of the fucking text and, navigate around. And there, it is cool. There's like a world map and all these characters, and it seems like there's a little bit of non-linearity to how the story rolls and shit, and which direction you take. It does seem like the visual novel aspect of it is really cool, and it would be fun. I just don't know if this is chocolate and peanut butter or if it's chocolate and tuna fish, right? I'm gonna sit down with an open mind and play it as it's designed to be played, and just see how well those disparate elements work. But I can tell you, my first encounter with them and these long, massive conversational scenes in between, 10 levels of wonderful adrenaline gameplay just felt fucking weird. But keep an eye out on it, and if it sounds like something you would like, that's Neon White. It's definitely interesting. Last thing I'll tell you, and we'll get to the news. If this will be timestamped, so if you're like, dude, I don't care, I want to get to the news, you can get to the news. It'll be there. Just look at the timestamps. Listen to me though. I'm playing this tonight. I'm dying to play this game. This just came out. This is called Madison. Madison is a horror game. It's like $30. Usually horror games don't cost that much unless you're talking first party, like a, I don't fucking know. Like if you're getting like a Silent Hill, or you're getting like what was the Photograph game that Morgan told me was really good, the Fatal Frame, Maiden of Dark Water, whatever. But I'm like, what the fuck is this, right? It looks great. It looks really creepy. It looks really scary. It's got a PT vibe, but that's just, what is that? That's shorthand for just saying what? It's first person horror. It looks cool. And then, though, the reason I'm really excited, though, is because the reviews for a horror game, let's see if it's changed. It has not. They don't have many reviews, but so far, out of 6 reviews, 5 have been positive, like 95, 90, 90, 85, 80. And all of the ones that are really positive, all 5 of those are saying that it is, from start to finish, it's engaging, it's interesting, it's scary, it's cool. So I am very much looking forward to jumping into this later tonight, taking a little bit of the pot. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, yeah, I'm in. I love shit like this, man. I love horror. Horror on a late Saturday night, smoking a little bit of pot, not so much, but a little bit to get into the scare zone. I'll be streaming this later tonight. I'm quite excited. This Madison just came out. All right. My little friends, my big friends, my medium-sized friends, you all knucklehead so-and-sos, let us get to some video game news. Well, obviously, the big news of the week is Sony finally announced the God of War release date. You have to know this. There's no way you're watching this show and you don't have the data. But God of War Ragnarok is coming out November 9th after a very long dry season of no information, which led to a lot of folks, including me, speculating that this would not make it this year. It would be a 2023 title. Sony finally comes out and plants a flag and says, nope, November 9th, we're coming out with Ragnarok. They put out a new CG trailer, which, I mean, it looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it. If you're looking at your screen, I'll play it. It's like a minute and nothing really happens in it, and it's all CG. So none of this is, it's maybe indicative of the pacing of the game. And there's this really cool fucking wolf who's massive, which I'm like, okay, that's pretty fucking cool. But overall, it's like, whatever. It's more of kind of the kind of game you already know it is. That's not anywhere near being a bad thing. That's just sort of giving you a hint of the trailer was kind of whatever. Understandably, people are excited. I got to wear a stupid fucking MAGA hat as part of a bet that I lost, but trust me, I'm going to give it my own spin. The hat will be the hat, but it'll give me, you just wait and see. But they announced it, and that's great. I'm excited to play it. You know what? I actually, during that stream where we were talking about it, we did a Gabbin' Games live that day, Max Ankar called in. You can find this on the stream right now. It's a separate video, but he called in and I was asking him what the director of this game, Eric Williams, is like compared to Corey. And it was really exciting to hear his take. Obviously, he had a lot of great praise for Corey. And then he said, Eric is more hands-on with the gameplay, which would make sense given Eric's history of being, a gameplay combat consultant for almost 2 decades at this point. But, he said, Corey was involved in everything, but he delegated to the specialist. And Eric obviously does that in various ways. But when it comes to the moment-to-moment gameplay, apparently Eric is incredibly involved, which is exciting to hear. What does that mean for the gameplay? I don't know. Is Kratos going to have a jump? Is there going to be some more platforming? Is the combat going to be deeper? Is it going to be too deep for its own fucking good? Because Eric comes from a pro fighting in hardcore, background, or is he going to thread that needle and give everybody what they want, players like me and mainstream players, like a fun brawler that makes you feel like a badass, but there's a lot of depth? I don't fucking know, but I'm excited for that. He also said, now this was surprising because I know Eric as a combat guy. I know Eric as a mechanics-based guy. I don't know him as a storyteller, and I know he's not the main writer. Max Ankar, again, who worked on the game, called in and said that it's the same writers from the last game. But Max actually said that this new God of War, he thinks the story is better. And there's going to be a lot of great surprises and a lot of treats for players. So I was like, the story's better. What? So I'm super psyched for that because I just, as I've said many times, I'm a fan of Eric's as a human. I think he's really fucking smart and really fucking clever. And to hear someone who worked with him on this title say he was firing on all cylinders is pretty fucking good. So Ragnarok on the 9th, of course, I'll be streaming at day 1. Now, this is a little weird. This is a little fucking weird. They also announced a collector's edition. I'm not a collector's edition guy, so I'm not going to sit around and talk about it like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I've never in my life bought a collector's edition, and I probably never will. But they did this thing where they went through it with Raph, and I don't know him. I know him through social media. He's a fucking insanely gifted artist, and go follow this guy on Instagram. He's stunning. And also the actor who does, I guess, the voice and maybe the mocap of Thor. And they opened this a couple of these collector's editions. I think what you're looking at on the screen right now is the Jotunheim or something, as how you say it, edition. And it's just the number one weird thing is it doesn't come with the game, right? It literally doesn't come with a physical copy of the game. It comes with a digital copy. It's like a voucher. But they did this with Horizon Forbidden West as well. And it's like, what the fuck is this? Why would you not pack in the fucking game? You're going to save a couple of pennies? I mean, again, Jim Ryan is not Sean Layden. And obviously, you know, for better or for worse. But maybe they went to Jim and I'm just speculating. I don't fucking know. But it's like, why else would they not put a fucking disc in there? If they went to him and said, look, you know, we can make another 4 to 8 million. I don't know, I'm just making numbers up, but we can make a $4 to $8 million increase in profit if we leave the disc out. It's hard to believe it's that much. Maybe Jim Ryan's like, okay, it's all about the bottom line to me. I don't give a fuck if you think we can sell them without the fucking physical disc. And clearly they sold enough of the collector's edition of Horizon Forbidden West that they know people will buy it and the cost of goods will be cheaper. But it seems weird. I wouldn't fucking buy this with a digital fucking copy. And then the rest of it's just cheap crap. I'm not the content. Like you get like a little bit of the music on a vinyl. I'm sure the music's brilliant. You get a cloth map, which I love. You know, back in the day, like Infocom and all that shit, when I was in Ultima, when I was a kid of the 80s playing this shit, I did enjoy these things being packed in. But it was part of the cost of the normal version. But I don't think they've dropped a price on this. It's clearly well over $100, $150, $200. I don't know what let's see what the Horizon one was. So if you went to Best Buy and picked up the collector's edition for PS4, PS5, it would have run you $200. Come on, man. For some little shitty, cheap statue. And I like statues. I like art. You know, if you look at the video that they put up, this hammer, Mjolnir, however you say it, it looks cheap. People in the chat were like, it looks like a dog's toy, like a chew toy, right? I'm not taking the piss. They don't put a game in there or a disc in there. And then it's just this, I don't know. Just, I'm some old guy who doesn't buy these. If you love this shit, great. But here's what I'll tell you. Even if you love this shit, do you really want a fucking hammer? Don't you want like you know what they put out the other day, which was fucking brilliant? I hadn't seen this piece of art yet for God of War. Yeah, so check out this art. Like if I don't know where this is from. It's PlayStation Arabia's Instagram page. It says, make me a statue of that, like a high quality fucking statue with the dead deer and Atreus and Kratos fighting Freya. And she's kind of like, you know, somehow propped up in the air. I mean, then it starts to become like, I wouldn't, but I can understand why somebody would part with $200 to $300 for this shit. Like when you see those sideshow collectibles at Comic-Con that are just staggering. But someone's going to pay, if that collector's edition that we just looked at for Ragnarok was with a little cheesy hammer, if that, like this cheesy hammer here it is in real life. I mean, if this is your main get from this box art, if this is your main get from the collector's edition, this fucking hammer, I just feel like $200, $250. Are you out of your fucking mind? But hey, I guess that's a company's job, right? They just push and push and push until the fans say that's too much for me. That's not interesting to me. And then they learn their lesson, and that's how business works. You're constantly, you know, adjusting and iterating on the flight plan. But man, I'll tell you, this looks like a stinker. But I could be wrong, but it doesn't look great to me. The other thing that I thought was really interesting, that isn't getting as much talk, but obviously because God of War coming out November 9th, taking the air out of the room, as it should. But they also moved Forspoken. Now, what I thought was actually good about this was the transparency, or the more transparency than usual. If you look in Square Enix, who's publishing the title, it's a PlayStation exclusive. I believe it's a timed exclusive, but it was supposed to come out this October. They say, as a result of ongoing discussions with key partners, we have made the strategic decision to move the launch date of Forspoken to January 24th, 2023. All the game is complete and development is in final polishing phase. Thank you for your blah, blah, blah. Okay. and they're going to share more about it this summer. But clearly, I think this is basically saying we wanted to get the fuck out of the way of God of War. And it says, as a result, but I do appreciate the transparency here. Instead of saying, oh, we need a little more time to make it just the best it can be or whatever, they're just like, look, here let me break it down for you what I think happened. They might as well have said, look, we talked to Sony. They're our exclusive partner. They're paying us a great deal of money to come out on their platform exclusively for X number of months. Maybe it's exclusive forever. I don't know. I don't know if it's let me check real quick. Okay, I just checked. See, isn't it being edited much better? An edited version of the show. I just checked. January 2024 is the soonest this will appear on Xbox or Switch. Okay, so it is exclusive for PlayStation for the next year. And so they're probably like, look, we talked to Sony. Sony's like, hey, just so you know, here's the drop date for God of War. It's less than a month after you guys. We're scheduled to promote Forspoken. We're committed to give you advertising and state of plays and showcases and all that. What do you think about maybe letting us have the holiday? Because obviously between the two of them, God of War is going to trounce Forspoken. Even if Forspoken's a Game of the Year contender, it doesn't have the brand yet, right? And then obviously everyone, including myself, who have watched a lot of the Forspoken footage and content, will tell you that most people, I would say, are still on the fence about Forspoken. The graphics have moments where they look really good. The effects are really cool, but it kind of looks like a poor man's like B-level Elden Ring. The story could be interesting. I like the main character. I think she's kind of cool. There's stuff about it that's cool, but I don't think anyone's like, dude, no, Forspoken needs to come out this Christmas because it's going to blow the doors off. Maybe it will, but no one who's kind of watching from afar thinks that's the case. So I think Sony was like, hey, I don't know if they actually gave them the choice or said, look, we need you to move. I don't know what the contract says, but I think this is obviously a smart decision. You get more time to polish the game, hopefully. You get your time in the spotlight. And if it's a good game, both of those things are going to help it much more than coming out on the holiday season. Holiday season is always a bloodbath anyway, even though a lot of games are slipping. So I think it's good. I think it's smart. Whoever drove this decision, I like it. So I was kind of excited to watch this kind of showcase yesterday from a publisher I don't know much about. These guys are a game publisher called Nacon. I think their biggest claim to fame is like Terminator Resistance, which I'm still on the fence about. Because people who love Terminator, and I'm kind of like I like Terminator. I'm not like, oh my God. I loved the second one. I loved the first one and everything else after. It's like, whatever, I don't care. But people who are really into Terminator say Terminator Resistance is delicious fan service for Terminator fans, to the point that I saw some reviews saying Cameron needs to look at this and make this canon because it's so fucking good, especially compared to the crap they've released in the motion picture houses, okay? But then the game reviews for people who are just like, I'm playing it as a game and Terminator, I can take or leave. A lot of people are like, it's just very basic and pedestrian. So I don't know. I haven't played it. It has its fans, but that's probably the biggest claim to fame I know of that this company, Nacon, has. They have the Test Drive franchise, which is kind of a whatever. Blood Bowl, kind of whatever. They got the Gollum game coming out, but they're not a massive player yet. If you just look at sort of their release content. So they announced a bunch of games yesterday at their Nacon showcase. Most of them I couldn't give a shit about. But they did announce this one. They announced Robocop. Now, I'm a kid of the 80s, as I always say. I love the Robocop. Great fucking movie. Still holds up. And at first, I was really excited. The trailer's playing right now as we chat. I was really excited because even though the graphics were like whatever, it really did feel like it was capturing the Paul Verhoeven Robocop in terms of kind of the satire about capitalism and violence and cops, and just the seedy underbelly of Detroit in the future. I was like, this is pretty cool. And it's first person shooter. And then at the end, they blow your mind because here he comes. Look at RoboCop at the end. Look at him at the end here. Who is it? You goddamn right. They went out of their way and they picked up, not that it's probably too expensive, but it's great. There's Peter Weller who is back as the voice and the face of the Robocop as well. He's now called Murphy. Don't call me Robocop. But then when you really kind of start taking it apart beyond that, the fan service, there's no gameplay here. Even the stuff they show that looks like gameplay, where they kind of put this very bullshit targeting system HUD over the screen, this is not real time. And I don't mean that because it looks so amazing. Like, there's no way this is fucking real time, dude. I mean, this is clearly not gameplay. There's not enough information on the screen for this to actually be gameplay. There's no consistent footage of just gameplay for 5 seconds, 10 seconds. It's just these little teeny tiny, this is a very smoke and mirrors trailer, which doesn't mean it's not going to be a great game. But I will tell you that the first time I saw this, I was hyped. And then I saw it a second time and I was like, well, okay. This is one of those wait and see games. But I hope somebody does it justice. And if they don't do it justice, I'd love to see a developer that just loves the material, that is actually a great developer. Like, can you imagine, like, take Insomniac, right? The Robocop license, for all intents and purposes, is not a super valuable license. But let's say Ted Price is like, you know what, man, I am just kind of like what Todd Howard's doing with Indy. Indy's obviously a much more valuable license than Robocop. But let's say Ted Price, like, dude, I've been doing this for so many years. I've made you guys so much fucking money. Can I please make a Robocop game? And it has all the imagination and experience and polish of an Insomniac game, but it's Robocop. That's like when Tarantino went back and got Travolta and said, nobody believes in Travolta anymore, but I do. I'm putting him in Pulp Fiction. Suddenly he had a second career, right? If this doesn't scratch the itch, man, I'd love to see somebody get this franchise and be really smart with it in terms of the gameplay and the execution and even the satire and the writing. Because what Paul Verhoeven did in that period of his career, he's one of my favorite film directors, but especially with Robocop, even to this day, it's actually more relevant today when we look at what's happening with cops and abusive cops and the body cams and them, killing innocent people seemingly, but not, I don't want to paint it that negatively, but seemingly non-discriminately. It's even more of a relevant motion picture show. So I like this franchise. If this doesn't do it, I hope somebody is able to come along and do it and blow it away, because there's gold in these hills, fellas, and there's a lot of nutrition in this meal at a gameplay and an IP level. Now, look, I've been around the block, right? You can't pull one over on your Papa Jaffe, but I will tell you, this was a surprise to me. Let me set it up for you. You had to have seen this. Here's the article from the first of the month, right? So this was happening back in July 1st. Kotaku wrote about this, but you know what this is. EA roasted for dunking on single-player games after everything is done, right? We know this story, but I'll give it to you real quick. EA put out a post based on the They're a 10 meme. Now, if you don't know the They're a 10 meme, you're not cool like me. You're not a TikToker like me. But the gist of it is that you say, usually it's a she, because it's very, sexist and misogynistic and whatnot. But it started as they're a she. She's a she. She's a 6, meaning 6 out of 10, but she gets you coffee in bed, right? That's the example, right? So it's like you're basically taking somebody and saying she's hot, average, or not. Could be a guy too. Could be a gender fluid. And then you're saying, but there's a qualifier, either a good one or a bad one. I'll give you some examples. Here's some famous TikTok folks doing it right now. And then the number you hear afterwards is the guy you're speaking to rating it. So it's like, she's a 6, but she gets you coffee in bed. And then I would go, if I was doing this, I'd say, oh, well, I like coffee in bed a lot. All right, well, she's a 7 to me, right? Here's an example.
She's a 10, but she's 22.
7. She's an 8, but she's from your hometown.
3. She's a 9, but she has an OnlyFans.
10 if she takes you on the trips with her with that money. She's an 8, but she's your ex.
-3. She's a 10, but she has a lisp.
This is what EA tweeted out on their social media. They're a 10, but they only like playing single player games, right? So this is clearly a dunk. It's not like they're a 4, but they love single player games. It's clearly like they're taking the piss out of single player games. And I honestly thought the reason people immediately were jumping all over this was because it is kind of based on a sexist meme. Now they use there, so you don't know if it's a guy or a girl or whatever, but it still kind of feels maybe that's what people were upset about. But yeah, I really thought this was going to be more of a people are in an uproar because it's not politically correct or whatever. And you look, I think the meme is, I'm not like, oh, I'm offended by the meme. It's a sexist meme, but you know, I would lie if I said I don't rate people visually based on how attractive they are when I'm talking to people in conversation. We're just shooting the shit. I think most people do it. Is it the most evolved position? Probably not, but whatever. But it turns out, though, that's not why people were upset, or at least to that degree, they were upset about something else. Listen to this. A couple days later, this was this Wednesday, Kotaku has this headline. This is from Zach Zwiesen of the Connecticut Zwiesens. Really good family. Really good family. The sister's out of her fucking mind, but the rest of Zwiesens are great. The headline was, EA's bad tweet last week has led to roundtable meetings with angry staff. So even that, I was like, oh, it must be a lot of people like, we don't want this kind of, you know, Bobby Kotick style company, you know. But no, it turns out, this is from the reporting, EA is dealing with angry employees who felt the tweet was an insult to them, their staff, and the games they are making. Because apparently a lot of these guys are making single player games over there. And yeah, the report goes into like a source who's like the people who wrote the tweet don't even work for EA as EA employees, and they don't know much about games. They certainly don't know the history where the former CEO, Frank Gibeau, was like, single player games are dead, single player games are finished. So it was kind of an innocent thing, and they tried to walk it back with a joke, and that didn't work so well. I don't know. I mean, at that point, on one hand, it's like, I like that they push back because they're like, go fuck yourself, you fucking social media account. Single player games are great. You don't like single player games? Fine. We'll take Jedi Fallen Order somewhere else. We'll take the Battlefield single player game that we're hiring for under the supervision now of one of the two guys who ran Infinity Ward and founded it. What was the guy's name? They were partners, but that guy's now running all of the Battlefield franchise. And one of the things they're doing is bringing single player campaigning back, right? I get that they would be annoyed. It's a little like, dude, who cares? But I guess they cared, and so they pushed back, and so I don't know. I mean, I don't think anything's going to come of it. Clearly it was an innocent tweet. The guy or the girl who was tweeting it was just kind of trying to ride the meme train and be relevant. I don't fucking know. Most multiplayer games these days I want nothing to do with. The older I have gotten, I dabbled in multiplayer my entire career and then my previous life as a fan only. I still love couch co-op and couch combat. That's a joy. I still love certain online games like Hearthstone, but more and more when I'm playing this shit, like we talked about earlier in the show, Rumbleverse, Knockout City, the Roller Derby Champions game from Ubisoft, it's just, I can't engage with that shit. Doesn't do it for me anymore. So I certainly, am glad to see EA employees who make the games pushing back. It's kind of funny it led to this much of a dramatic scenario over at EA, but it is what it is. I guess it would probably be the same if you worked at Sony and it was like, the tweet read something like, they're a 10, but they thought The Last of Us 2 story was good, right? Now, I love The Last of Us 2 story. I'm not taking the piss. I'm just saying that maybe that's a little closer to home in terms of it felt like, hey, we're fucking making you guys money. Why are you shitting on us? I don't know. Now, I want to talk to you about an attempt, a noble, valiant attempt at a beloved institution in the world of video games to get up off the mat like Rocky Balboa. Just like bam, bam, bam. Get up, Rocky, all that shit, right? And he's just down there. And he ain't going to make it probably. But this motherfucker is trying. It's metaphor for E3. You goddamn right, E3 once again is trying to rise from the ashes. The difference between Balboa and E3, though, is that Balboa still has some fight in him and some relevancy. E3, at least the way we know it, should die. But the real question now is, what is it going to be reborn as? Okay, so there's a group called Reed Pop. These are the same guys that run the PAX show. They run New York Comic Con. They run Star Wars Celebration. They got themselves a hell of a portfolio and a hell of a amount of experience in this. And so they've been retained by the Entertainment Software Association, ESA, who's been running E3 since the start. It's their show. And they say, look, help us put on a show. Help us make this right again. Help us bring back E3. Help us get Rocky off the mat. It's okay. And they've announced that it is coming back. First time since 2019, E3 is coming back live. It'll be the second week of June. It will be in Los Angeles. It will feature digital watch at home as well as in-person components. And there have been some articles talking to the folks who are running this about what their goals are for this attempt at revival for E3. So this is what ReadPop has said about 2023. The new E3 will welcome back publishers, developers, journalists, content creators, manufacturers, buyers, and licensors, and highlight digital showcases and feature in-person components like we're talking about. This is a quote or a series of quotes from Christopher Dring, who is ReadPop's head of games. Let me just read you some of his choice quotes. He says, "We were throwing around ideas about how we could get consumer and business elements to work. We talked about what we could offer those companies not interested in big booths. We dreamed up ways we can make the event more of a celebration, less of a battleground." Let's break that one down for a second. E3 started with a very clear goal in mind. It was for print press, and it was for buyers of Target, Walmart, mom and pop stores to see what was coming out at Christmas so they could make orders and say, oh, Earthworm Jim 2 looks fucking awesome. Let's triple our orders and do a deal with Shiny or whoever published it. Maybe Shiny published it. To get end caps, right? Because that's going to be the big holiday hit. Whatever. That was its reason to be. Okay. It became more than that for fans, but that was sort of a side effect. It was never meant to be a fan show, right? But it was great. And for a while it was very, very good. Well, now when they're talking about E3, I still think when I read a lot of these quotes, like we could get the consumer and business elements to work. I like that they're saying we do want to offer companies that are not interested in big booths a reason to be here, because that's ultimately what ended up happening, right? We talked earlier in the show about Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok not including a physical disc in their collector's edition, their over $200 collector's edition. A company that's going to do that, we assume, to save some pennies or a couple of dollars on something that really you shouldn't be skimping. You shouldn't be removing that from a collector's edition. Well, they're also going to be looking at, why are we spending all this money to go to E3 when we can go right to the consumer? You think Ragnarok's going to sell better if there would have been an E3? You think Ragnarok's going to sell better if there would have been a PSX? Remember PSX that ran for a couple of years? It was a great Sony celebration. Totally unnecessary to the financial bottom line of Sony. They could do all of that at a, times 1,000 just by doing it online because they reach so many more customers. So the idea of saying you're going to make this for businesses, I don't know. I mean, why? Why would a business commit anything to something like this? What value is there, right? So, but the fact that they're thinking about it, okay, maybe they're going to have to answer that question because they're going to be dog and ponying all around to these big companies soon. And they're going to say, hey, come to the new E3. And these companies are going to have to be given a reason. Why would we do that at this point, right? So I like, though, that they're addressing it, right? Here's what else they said. We've discussed ways to embrace everything that takes place during E3 week, whether they're part of the show floor or not. And that includes things like the PC Gamer Show, Devolver Digital's Car Park, and Keighley's Summer Games Fest. Because to those watching at home, i.e. most of us, all of that is E3. To most people, the event, this is the quote, to most people, the event isn't two halls in downtown LA, but it's the showcases that reveals the games. E3 is more than an expo, it's an idea, and one that's bigger than ReadPop and the ESA. There's no use fighting against that. And that's great. That's a great quote, but it still makes you go, so what? Right? It's like what they're saying is, I'll give you my thought. Here's the last quote. The desire to unite the industry, irrespective of whether they're part of the show or not, extends around the world. E3 is already a global event, and we want to take that further. Some of the ideas are too ambitious to pull off in 1 year, but we can give it a try. Okay, so as a fan and as somebody who makes content about the industry and games, I love this. I want to go. Maybe, I'm definitely going to try to go. Why the fuck not? If they're actually, one of their complaints earlier on, they were talking about all these games are behind closed doors and shit. I want to go. I want to have that experience next year and see if they've turned it around. But I still think their biggest challenge is there's no reason for this show to exist. If you're going to make a pure fan show, okay, then the reason is you want to make money off fans, and you, like Comic-Con, you want to spend money to bring people in. Like, you'll pay these people. It's like, yes, certainly it goes both ways, but Comic-Con knows they're going to make their money if they can get Marvel to come, if they can get, Star Wars to show up, if they can get a whole section of brand new video games, then they can charge crazy amounts for their tickets, and that's the business they're in. But unless they're paying these companies to show up, why would they? They can get everything they need easier and much, much, much cheaper doing it online. So I don't know how this is going to work, but I wish it would. Now, I have been saying for years, I don't want to act like I have the solution, but I have the solution. The solution is to take all of this digital. Journalists don't need to be there anymore to play the games. I know they like to, but they don't need to. They can have it streamed to them. They can have it downloaded to them so they can cover the games. You don't need big keynotes. I'm not saying you don't like them. I'm saying you don't need them. If you're Jim Ryan saving pennies or a couple of dollars off a collector's edition and taking the game out, the physical game, this is the level of thinking, assuming that's why it's out. But if you're more of a business-minded, money bottom line guy, why do you need a keynote? Yeah, it's fun. Do you need it? No. So that's out. You got to come up with a reason for people to buy a ticket. But if you do it digital, it becomes incredibly inexpensive. Sure, you still have to navigate getting your game content ready for the digital event, and that's expensive. But suddenly you have people all over the world coming, buying a digital ticket. You have it like PlayStation Home, so there is a social component of walking around, seeing developers that are doing Q&As in the virtual space, seeing costume characters walking around, giving away codes. If you can find Kratos who's walking around, I don't fucking know, he's walking around Sony Land, the part of the convention right now, you'll get early access to the game. You can play the game 3 days before everybody else. He'll give you a code, and it's a guy dressed as Kratos, and they got the Chris Judge doing the voice, and it's like, holy shit, this is awesome. And the tickets that go in, the biggest partners get paid a percentage of those tickets as well. And you can sell merch, and everybody in the whole world can go for a week or a weekend or whatever. That starts to become like it makes a lot more fucking sense as a thing that the business can work with. But when you got to build a booth and pay someone to design a booth and fly your people there and put them up in a hotel, and then you got to do all the expense reports for the drinks and the expensive fucking dinners while you're whining and dining people, it's a relic. It's a relic. And look, if anybody can do it, it's these guys, right? I mean, PAX is still going. Gamescom is still going. I mean, that's coming up. I don't know if you saw the news there. Gamescom lineup does have Ubisoft, Xbox, Tencent, and 2K. So even though there are a lot of companies dropped out of Gamescom, there's still a bunch of companies going. They must see value in it. I, for the fucking life of me, don't know what that value is. Why would you spend a dime to go to Gamescom if you're Xbox? Why not just have another fucking, hey, I'm Phil Spencer talking to the camera the week of Gamescom or the week before, the week after? They've come out with the news and they've said, hey, we're going to stay on this cadence of all of our press conferences and stuff are going to be about what's coming in 12 months, which I think is smart if they can still announce some new shit. Netflix kind of does that, right? Netflix, I think in January or some part of the year, they come out with all these announcements. Here's all the movies coming in the next 12 months. I think there's wisdom there. But if you can't pair that with here's some new stuff coming in the next 12 months, then I think but that's a Microsoft problem. But I don't know why they're going to Gamescom. It doesn't make a lot of fucking sense to me. Let me know, on a live show, Twitter, wherever you comment with me in Discord. What am I missing here? Why are these companies spending money to go to this? It's not like they need it, but maybe they do. Anyway, there you go. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I plan on being there June of next year. We will see what happens with the resurrection or the final death coffin kneel. That makes nothing. What I said makes no sense. The resurrection makes sense. What I meant to say was the final nail in the coffin is, let's do it again. But I'm not going to edit this because I want you to see how, just how brilliant my mind is. I don't know. Listen, I'll be there in June of next year to see if this is the resurrection of E3 or it's the final nail in the coffin of a once great video game institution that finally has been put out to pasture. See, that's, come on. One of my favorite charts to come out every couple of weeks, or at least look at every couple of weeks, is the Steam charts, not for what's selling, but for what people are wishlisting. It's not a one-to-one. Just because it's a highly wishlisted game doesn't mean it's going to be a massive hit, but it does mean that whatever that developer and publisher have done to get your interest up about their game, that is working. And that could very well translate into a next big hit. I want to tell you where we're at because there's a new number one. For the longest time, the number one was a game we'll talk about in a second. It's been knocked off the list. Here we go. Number 10, Kerbal Space Program 2. People excited about that. Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. Darktide, if you don't know, there was a game called Warhammer Vermintide, which was okay. It was fun, but it was kind of, I didn't play it for that long. I got kind of bored. 4-player co-op, D&D style Warhammer world. You're going in fighting bad guys together. You played it before. Darktide does look pretty good, though. In fact, I think that might be a Game Pass day one, if I remember from one of the shows. But that's your number 9. Number 8 is Vampire the Masquerade's Bloodlines 2, the kind of RPG adventure game set in the vampire world. Frostpunk 2. Stalker 2 is number 7, which I think that's kind of on hold because of what's happening in Ukraine. Number 6 is Starfield, coming to the PC. Number 5 is Party Animals, which is kind of just what it sounds like. It's Mario Party bashing enemy. I don't know why that's so high up there, but there you go. The sequel to Hollow Knight, Silksong, is number 3. Number 2 loses the number 1 spot. The Day Before, which is the post-apocalyptic, really pretty looking kind of survival game that made some news last week because the developers were like, hey, we're asking people to work as volunteers for free to get codes and shit. I don't fucking know. I mean, they have full-time employees, but it kind of rubs some people the wrong way. I don't fucking know. It's not my kind of game. It's very pretty, though. Day Before. The number 1 game, which is wishlisted now at the top of Steam charts, is coming out next week. No, it's coming out in 10 days. So it's coming out July 19th. It is Stray from Annapurna Interactive. It's also coming to PlayStation 5 that same day, July 19th. If you subscribe to PS Plus at the top 2 tiers, right? Which, don't even ask me. Don't fucking ask me. Their naming can go fuck itself. I think it's like premium and who knows. But you get it for free day 1 drop as long as you keep subscribing to that service. It is a console exclusive for a limited time. Obviously, it will eventually be coming to Xbox. But in 10 days, you're going to get to play it on PC and day 1 drop on PlayStation. But there you go. Now listen, there was a very interesting interview with a pal of mine. Used to be at Microsoft. He's the guy I connected with when I was considering doing a game and they were considering having me do a game for them at Xbox. Mike Ibarra. He has now since moved over to be the head of Blizzard to try to right the ship and bring back the magic without all of the sexual creepiness. In fact, I think that's written above the door when you walk into Blizzard now. It says all the magic, none of the sexual creepiness. I think that's what they're building right now. You can see it on Twitter. But he's running the show, and the LA Times sat him down and said, let's talk, pal. And Mikey Barr talked to the LA Times about Diablo Immortal. And they focused a little bit on the microtransactions that have been very controversial. I want to tell you, let me read some choice quotes and then let me tell you my thoughts on this. Here's what he says. When we think about monetization, this is Mikey Ibarra, at the very highest level, what we were thinking about in terms of monetization was, quote, how do we give a free Diablo experience to hundreds of millions of people? where they can literally do 99.5% of everything in the game, Ybarra told the LA Times. He goes on, the monetization comes in at the end of the game. The philosophy was always to lead with great gameplay and make sure that hundreds of millions of people can go through the whole campaign without any costs. From that standpoint, I feel really good about it as an introduction to Diablo. Well, I've played this game. It's one of my favorite games of the year. Fuck the people who go over to Metacritic and review bomb. And I think it's definitely the lowest Blizzard game ever reviewed, but I think in general, it's the lowest user review. Let's see what it's sitting at right now. Yeah, so if you go over there, it's a 69 on the review score, which I think is much, much lower than it deserves. And it's a 0.4 overwhelming dislike on the user score. And it's like, you know what? Fuck off, you morons. You can dislike what you probably haven't even fucking played it, okay? But you can dislike the business model and just kind of make it clear it's just so childish, right? Especially with a game like this. This is a really good game, okay? It is fun as fuck. Controls great on the phone. I played on the PC though. Controls great on the PC. The quality of life improvements to Diablo are sublime, and I really hope they build those into Diablo 4. Even just the footsteps that help you go, yeah, you can explore the world, but if you want to know where your mission goes, it's kind of like they've just added the thing they didn't do it, but EA did it in Dead Space to kind of just guide you a little bit more. You can, the ability to move around the map and the overworld faster, the ability to autopilot while you're going where you're going. It's just, it's much more, it's a really good, caring experience when it comes to the actual moment-to-moment gameplay. Now, I've played about 10 hours, 11, 12 hours, loved it, moved on to other things, plan on going back to it. Rob the Mod, our very mod of this channel, said, he's a big Diablo guy, and he finished the story elements in this game. And he said, I never had to pay anything, which is exactly what Mike Ybarra is saying. Now, I get it. If you are a PvP player of Diablo and you want to max out your character and all that shit, okay, the microtransactions are going to get in your way. And that's a fair criticism. And I think the review should reflect that. It's like, hey, there's two parts to this game. If you really come, which I don't think most people do, for PvP, you might have some problems with microtransactions. But if you're here for a single player or co-op dungeon bash crawler, loot game, this is fucking great. It's one of the best ones out there. Not graphically, of course, because it was built for mobile, but in terms of it's just ease of use and fun, and the combat loop feels amazing. But if you look at this, I was reading that article at the beginning about Mike Ybarra from IGN. They said, we gave Diablo Immortal a 6, praising some aspects of the gameplay, but saying it needs significant, quote, overhauls to the monetization and the many restrictions. And all I can tell you is, in 12, 13 hours, I haven't needed to spend a thing. I considered buying some really fucking cool armor, but I'm like, it's $20. I don't want to spend the money, right? And then Rob has finished it. Rob's a good game player, but he's not like MLG. He finished it. He's like, I didn't have to spend any money. It never got in my way. I just think the game's being treated really unfairly, and that's unfortunate because it's really good. Blizzard also went on to say that the vast majority of people aren't spending money. And listen to this, though. The game's making money, though, so fuck you review bombing fucks. It's almost like, you know what? If you have a problem with the product, that's great. You should shout from the fucking mountains. But make your criticism clear. If all you do is go in and review bomb a game and you give it a score and it brings the score down to like 0.4 and you're like, yeah, we did good. No, you didn't. All you've done is confuse the fuck out of people. And all you've also done is absolutely communicate incorrectly about a game that's actually quite good. But this game is still doing well. It made in the first month, the Blizzard folks, the Activision folks made 50 million, about a little like 49. But if you take into account the 30% that Apple and the stores take off if you buy it on Google or Apple or whatever, where a lot of it's being played, the figure looks more like 70 million in a month, which again is not Genshin Impact yet, but that's pretty goddamn nice piece of success for the title coming out right out the gate. So I recommend it. This is at the moment going to be on my 2020 top games list. That's how fun it is. It's just going to stay there. I don't know. Pretty fucking fun though. Give it a shot. Listen to this. I complain a lot, and I complain, I'm not even joking. I complain because I care. I complain about Xbox because I care, because I love Game Pass so goddamn much. I think it's such a great fucking service. Well, and I don't know what the fuck is happening at 343. We've talked about that, but this is interesting. They're still giving these fuckers a chance, and this seems like a good hire. Halo veteran joins 343 Studios as the studio technical director. They got Paul Bertone. I don't know him. He worked on Halo 1 through 3, ODST, and Reach when he was at Bungie for 12 years. They have brought him back in as the technical design director. I'm not entirely sure what the difference might be there. But again, the fact that you've got a game in Halo that clearly they struggle with updating, even simple things like adding a variant to a level that's already in the game. They clearly are in need of some leadership that has some technical chops to explain to them, hey, you built a lot of this shit wrong. This is why you're having such a hard time. So even though, again, who knows how long before this guy's experience and talents will be able to be seen and felt by players, but, it's nice to know they're not giving up on it, but fuck. How did it even get to this? All right, I don't want to be a dead horse. Let's move on. I'm going to talk about Halo a little bit later. I want to tell you about a really cool experience I had with it just yesterday, I think. Okay, but first, let's discuss the saga of Yuji Naka. I don't know. Look, I'm sympathetic to the man. Yuji Naka, if you don't know, is one of the fathers of Sega, of Sonic the Hedgehog, Nights into Dreams, did a bunch of other games over there. I want to say he also did, maybe he's not the guy who did Space Harrier. I don't know. But he did a lot. In fact, let me look up his, that's the nice thing about editing a show like this, is I can look this up and it doesn't actually take any time, at least for you. All right, so here's what we got with this guy. Hell, he worked on Spy vs. Spy back in the day. Yes, Space Harrier, Phantasy Star, the Sonic games, Knights, Choo Choo Rocket, Burning Rangers, Astro Boy, Puyo Pop Fever. He's done a lot of shit. And he left Sega and went over to Square. And he was fired. He was the director of Balan Wonderland, one of the poorest reviewed games last year. I played the demo. I thought it was incredibly visually cool, but insanely boring and dull. So I didn't do anything beyond the demo, and I never finished the demo. But they fired him or got rid of him. Okay, so he's since become his own kind of indie creator. He released his first mobile phone game that he made by himself. But Nights into Dreams, which is, for me, it was an okay game, but boy, the music, especially the Christmas version, was fucking phenomenal. I play that every year around Christmas time, the soundtrack to Nights into Dreams, Christmas soundtrack. But it was 26 years ago where they announced it, and he put a photo up of when they announced the game. And in the game, there's him, much younger, the team that worked on it. And then he had worked with a guy, let me show you the picture. Well, he had worked with a guy, I'm going to say his name wrong, but Naoto Oshima. Maybe that's right. And he was kind of the co-creator of Sonic. He was the visual guy while Naka was the programmer on the title. And he puts this picture up. Naka puts this picture up to say, hey, let's celebrate that day. Let's remember that day, whatever. But he goes into his co-director here. And on Nights, I want to say he was, I don't know what he did on Nights, but Oshima worked with him on that as well. Oshima may have directed Nights, actually. But they were a tag team. They worked together beautifully, made a lot of great music together, magic together, games together. But he scratched him out in this picture. Okay. And, if you followed the story, and we've talked a little bit about it on the stream in the past, Yuji Naka feels very let down by these people, very heartbroken, I would even say, by these people who were his colleagues, his friends, a lot of experience. And he says they, shoved him out of the process, making Balan Wonderland, treated him terribly, and he's pissed about it, right? And that's been the narrative. So he does this where he scratches out this guy, and I was first off surprised that a lot of people were like, oh, that's so petty. Like he was going through and hiding a bunch of comments like erasing Nato from the pick seems incredibly petty. Why did you erase him? I think it's time for you and Nato Oshima to go out and have a drink. He got rid of all these comments from his feed. He didn't want people to see these, or he didn't want to see them or whatever. But still, I understand that he's upset. But I have been surprised by how the media and the Twitter sphere have acted like that was really bad. I mean, it would be really bad, I think, if Yuji Naka was literally trying to remove him from the history. And by the way, my understanding, reading the reporting, I'm looking at PC Gamer, says that Yuji Naka doesn't have the world's best track record or reputation when it comes to giving credit himself. The article on PC Gamer says there's the necessary history that Naka has not always been one to give credit where it's due. He has in the past minimized the role of Hirokazu Yashura, who designed levels for Sonic, and after Oshima left Sega to found Artoon, he was unceremoniously stripped from the Sonic Adventure DX credits. So if he was doing that, okay. But he's basically publicly saying, this is the guy that fucked me. And I don't know who's in the wrong. They probably both contribute to it. He probably is a pain in the ass to work with. But at the same time, that was the relationship that they entered into. And frankly, a lot of times it's the pain in the ass people who get shit done. I know that's terrible. I know especially this younger generation doesn't like to hear that. They want to hear that everything's going to be great. That we can all just come in and it's fucking kumbaya and everybody loves each other. And well, we're so inspired by each other. We're so supportive. And that's great when it happens. And it does happen. But a lot of times there's also a lot of fucking fighting and passion. And if you don't have that, you're probably dealing with a team that doesn't care very much. I'm just saying, I've never seen it work the other way, but your mileage will vary possibly. Who knows? Now listen, I'm going to do a couple of ads and shit, but they'll be fun. Don't worry. They'll be quick. I know you don't like the ads, but they keep the show running. And plus the ads that we have on this show are genuinely interesting products. I'm going to tell you about a couple of them in just a second, but I want to tell you when we come back from the ads, NPD, which is, is the American company that calculates sales for the month and trends and all that, they have released a series of predictions for the next year in video games. Everything from which game is going to sell the most, I think you'll be surprised, to just sort of how the industry is going to do. And so I'm going to talk about that report in just a second when we come back. But first, I want to share a little bit of news with you guys about some of our amazing Gabbin' and Games sponsors. People ask me all the time, Jaffe, I want the hat. Where can I get that hat you're wearing? I love that people love the hat. Makes me happy. If you go to the LinkedIn tree underneath this video on the YouTube, or you just go to the link tree and type in Gabbin and Games, you'll find it. You can find it easily. But there's all of our sponsors there, okay? And I'm going to talk about a bunch of them. But one of them, if you do want to, say, get a membership to the show, which brings all kinds of perks, or you want to get some merch, go to the Gabbin and Games merch store. You can click it right there. You can get yourself hat, t-shirts, mugs, whatever the fuck you want. If there's a specific kind of merch you want, let me know. It doesn't take a great deal of time to add a new piece of merch to the store. But there's the hat right there. You can get a hat for $24. Come on now. Different colors, sweet tooth ice cream treats, okay? But also, check it out. If you go over to our LinkedIn, you can find some of our other great sponsors. Look at this motherfucking thing. This is from one of our sponsors. I always say his name wrong, but I don't care because his talent is so fucking strong. He don't give a fuck what you call him as long as you respect the abilities of this man and his partner. It's called Kiska Kara Creations. And here's just the deal. It's not safe for work, but he's got little Post-its over the naughty bits. But he does mostly, I don't think he would say I was wrong if I were to assess what they're selling here as geek pinup girls done via very erotic images, right? So this is like Daphne and Velma from Scooby-Doo. Here's Jessica Rabbit. She's basically, in this image, she's wearing bra and panties. He has full naked ones. It's a sexy sight. Look at that. Who's this one? That's Josie and the Pussycats. Look at that. So he's covered up her I don't really know. I was going to say, I know that I was going to say nips for nipples, but what's the vajayjay, right? He's covered it up. You're not going to get in trouble. But there's Josie and the goddamn Pussycats, right? So this is a cool fucking site. He also makes video games. Really worth checking out. Going over, it's on the link tree. It's KEYESKEKARA. Don't worry about it. Go to the link tree. CAN-CRAX Creations, original art. You can get, he also does the G.I. Joe, what's her name? Scarlet. He's got some G.I. Joe in here. Tons of fucking art, right? Let me tell you about another this is our most recent Gabbin' and Games member. God of War tier. This is Brian K75. You know him from our stream. You know him from NeoGAF. He got banned from NeoGAF. He finally said enough of this horse shit. We all love NeoGAF, but he's like, enough. I'm going to start my own thing. Him and some buddies got together. They started Icon Era. Again, you can find it in the link tree. It is the newest, hottest video game forum. I said, Brian, what is the difference about this than the other forums? He says, well, there's a couple of things. The main thing he says is everybody's welcome. You like Atari? Come on over. You like Amico, which who knows if that's ever coming out. Come on over. You like the cutting edge PC, PS5, Xbox X? Come on over. We love games. Now, Brian is a self-admitted PlayStation fanboy, but that's not what the site is. The site is very inclusive, which is great. And the site also just has a lot of cool next-gen features that you don't see yet anyway. If you go over to Reset Era or NeoGAF, there's just, the icons are more fun. The animations are more fun. The way it presents to you, the site itself and what the trending stories are and stuff is more fun. It's just a really nice featured forum. It is called Icon Era, icon-era hyphen whatever the fuck it is, the line, icon-era.com. Check them out over there. And I'm a member. There I am right there. See, I use the Jaffe Coke can from our own Trey Trimble up there. It's a good site. I'll see you over there. Maybe we'll get into some good video game debates. So NPD, the NPD group. This is from a guy, I think he's blocked me now. I don't know why. I've never had any, you know that weird how people block you on Twitter? You never have any encounter with him. Never talked to this guy. Matt Piscatella. Sounds like Pinky Tuscadero. And if you don't know who that is, you're young and I'm old. But he's an analyst over there, industry analyst. He released this report about where video games are, where they're going. Let me read you the predictions for the remainder of 2022 at the year's halfway mark. Here we go. He says Switch will lead 2022 console hardware sales and units sold with the dollar leadership, meaning who makes the most money between Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series. That's pretty interesting. So it's a crapshoot. Nobody knows who's going to make the most money, but Switch is going to sell the most hardware. This is his prediction. Xbox Series will be the only console hardware platform to show dollar sales growth compared to 2021. Hardware shortages will continue until 2023, particularly on PS5 and Series X, with potentially impacting other segments such as VR. Listen to this one. Elden Ring, my current top game of the year, will finish as 2022's best-selling premium game in the United States, marking only the third time since 2009 a Call of Duty game does not lead the market. Think about that. Now, he says, despite Elden Ring leading the individual charts, Call of Duty will remain the U.S. market's best-selling premium gaming franchise for a record 14th consecutive year. So he's saying the franchise is the best-selling franchise. Yeah, but the game this year to beat in sales is going to be Elden Ring, which is insane to me. I love that game, but wow, who knew there were more people out there that wanted that than wanted Call of Duty? Because Call of Duty is always like, it's the bra games, it's Joe Sixpack, whatever. This Elden Ring's a fucking D&D geek wet dream. Thing I wonder about Elden Ring, I'd love to see the percentage completed or even the percentage played. Like, did a lot of people buy Elden Ring and they're like, what the fuck? They encountered that first mini boss, the guy on the horse, and they just, fuck this shit. Like, did it have a lot of returns? Did it have people stopping? Like 90% of the players stopped after 2 hours? I don't know. I'd love to know that. Boy, I love that game. Increased PC GPU availability. There's another prediction. And price declines will incentivize PC gamers to upgrade and make PC gaming an even more appealing consumer option. I'm going to upgrade this year. And then subscriptions will be 2022's only video game content growth segment. In other words, what's Papa Chaffee been telling you? Come on now. You know what I've been telling you. The subscriptions is what the people like. Whether it's PS Plus, whether it's Xbox Game Pass, whether it's the Switches, Nintendo, whatever the fuck that service is called. I'd like to think Steam's going to come around pretty soon. Say, hey, you know what? Give us $20 a month. Give us $15 a month. Probably won't, but I'd like to see a PC version. Anyway, so there you go. Those are NPD's predictions. We'll see in 6 months how right they are, but they seem pretty smart. Remember earlier we were talking about like the Rumbleverse and Knockout City and all these games that come out as services. Sony's doing them. Sony's got 9 in the fucking hopper right now going, we got to get some of that Fortnite money. I get it. But listen to this. This game, which I played, it was a day one drop on PlayStation and PC. It's free to play. I don't think it came out on Xbox yet, or if it did, it didn't come out the same day. PlayStation got it first. Vampire Masquerade Blood Hunt. This was basically Battle Royale with vampires in like a New Orleans-like environment, right? Listen to this, though. It's not doing well. Basically, this is an article by Connor Maker over on VG 24/7. He says, the game is an incredibly fun entry, I agree, by Shark Mob into a saturated market. Yes, with some blemishes, but entertaining nonetheless. Totally agree. It's fun. It's fun and cool. It built a dedicated community of players and major influencer attention, he writes, within just a few weeks. However, fast forward a few months and Blood Hunt is teetering perilously close to a similar fate of games like Hyperscape, Darwin Project, probably Roller Champions from Ubisoft, teeteringly perilously close to that fate. Thanks to consistent bugs, a perceived lack of content, and other troubles, player interest is waning. I would not say, I mean, maybe it's a perceived lack of content. And yeah, it was a little buggy when I played it. I didn't stop playing because it was buggy. I stopped playing because there's a million other games like it, and there's a million other games out there that are begging for my attention, and I played it. I got the idea. You know, there are a number of jobs these days in games for focusing on monetization, and they'll link these two together. And I don't know if these make sense to be as linked together as I see, which is monetization and retention. Retention, man. We need the Miyamoto of multiplayer retention. What is the magic that keeps you coming back to these games, especially when there's so many out there? They're attempting to get things back on track, says the article. There's a big update that was announced this week that fixes a bunch of the issues, and also talks about sort of what's coming. I'm not going to not bore you, but if you play the game, you're already following what's coming, right? I'm only interested in talking about it because it's just, I know I've talked about it before, but I don't know. I don't understand, like, I don't know, like, if, when Sony came to us, right, and I had Drawn to Death as an option to do single player and multiplayer, right, and I agreed to do multiplayer, and Scott Rohde, great fucking dude, was like, hey, we want to try this free-to-play stuff, and I said, okay, and then about a week later, I was having second thoughts, like, I think I'm better at the single player. Can we do the single player? And he says, yeah, no, we really want to put this in the initiative with our free-to-play games in San Diego. Okay, fine. And I thought we could do a good job. And I still think we did a good job, you know, with some obvious caveats. But the market then wasn't near as saturated. And we couldn't even come, you know, close to having a good retention rate on our game. I don't know what you do. And I'm just fascinated by it because people want this money. I mean, the money is huge in this space. So I get why all these companies are diving in, but it's like maybe the next batch of games they dive in on, they'll go, okay, We know this money is addictive, but if we don't figure out why these games are failing or why these games aren't sticky, we may as well just pull the plug now. And I have said many times, I think it's ridiculous that these companies, including Sony, are launching these service-based games complete. I think it should be the earliest fucking access as possible. Kind of like mobile games have that like minimal viable product. Even if it's like grayscale boxes, no real art, rough animation, just play it. Is it fun? Does it have stickiness? Do people enjoy the moment to moment? Does it create a sense of camaraderie and community that people want to be in, even when they're not dominating the video game? I think you got to throw not just anything at the wall, but I think you got to throw some calculated guesses at the wall when you've spent very little money, because I don't think you can intellectualize your way to a hit with this particular segment of the market. I don't, maybe someone out there is able to do it, but I've never seen it done, and I wouldn't know how to start. So, but anyway, here you go. Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt's getting an update. If you're into the game, great. But the bigger story to me is like, here we go again. Another really good game. Plays well, fun, creative, different. Nobody cares. You remember a couple weeks ago, we were, probably a couple months at this point, talking about Lollipop Chainsaw. I'm like, I've never played it. I so want to play it. I love games like that. And I played it at E3 and I liked it, but I just was busy probably with God of War and it slipped me by. I no longer have a PS3. It's the only place you can play it. Well, they did announce this week that there's going to be a remake. It's not a remaster. It does not involve, my understanding is James Gunn, who wrote it with Suda51. Those guys are not involved in this. It's a different group. This producer, Yoshimi Yasuda, bought the rights from the original publisher, Kadokawa Games. Some of the original staff are working on it. He says that the game's Western publisher, Warner Brothers, is supportive. He did not mention Grasshopper or its co-director, Suda51. And then James Gunn was like on Twitter saying, I don't really know anything about it. So I'm excited, though, because I never got to play the first one. And, you know, it's a hot chick with a chainsaw and a severed head that talks to her, and she's fighting zombies. Come on now. So I'm excited. Listen to me. So Comic-Con's coming up in a couple of weeks. I may be going, I may not go, but I want to tell you about the video game stuff. I don't know how much on the floor video game stuff you're going to see, but if you go on Thursday, they're starting to announce their panels. The only day they haven't announced is Sunday. There is a deep dive into Gotham Knights that you can see on, I think that is Thursday. There's also on that same day a panel about alternate careers in video games. Like if you don't code or design, or if you're not like traditionally creative, there are still ways to work in the industry and make your mark and be involved in an industry that a lot of people want to still be involved in. So I hope most of these go up online. I'm sure there'll be video game sites covering the Gotham Knights panel. So seconds after it starts, we'll be seeing tweets. If there's anything worth talking about, we'll talk about it. I don't know if we'll get any updates or post streams on the alternate careers. Then there's not much on Friday for games. I mean, there's panels and cool shit out the butthole, but game-wise, it's a little sparse this year. There's an interesting one called Bringing Video Games into Reality. That one is going to be on Saturday. And it's got a guy, Fallout Snow Globe Road Trip, who wrote and directed, I guess it's a movie. One of the musicians and comic creators of Digital Lizards of Doom. I've been interviewed by those guys, good guys. There's some VR people, some cosplayers on there. They share the experiences of bringing video gaming into reality. They will discuss their gaming influences being brought into the real world through game-themed scavenger hunts, graphic novels, augmented reality, virtual reality, cosplay, and more. Okay, so and then again, I mean, Comic-Con is just packed with any and everything if you like geek shit. The thing I'll tell you, if you don't have a ticket, and I'm going to hit refresh here. I'm over on eBay. I've never needed to buy a ticket, and I'm not going to buy one this year. They're really kind of hard to come by today for this year because you're getting the COVID 2020 people who already had tickets. that are able to use their tickets this year. So the next year and then the year after, we're going to be dealing with the ramifications of people who had tickets. But that said, though, if you really want to go, you can go over to eBay. Let me tell you what these things are running for right now. They're all over the map. This one has 20 minutes left. This guy's selling a 4-day pass with preview night, $630. That's not a bad deal. Because if you look at the 2 days left, 3 days left, they're at $370. I've seen some of these selling upwards of $1,000. So it looks like if you want the 4-day, $650 is roughly what you're going to end up paying if you really want to win this thing. I'm trying to see if there's any single days, but most of these are 4 days they're selling. So it's, it's an in-demand thing. It's a great show to go to a couple times in your life. I've kind of gotten sick of the crowds, but I still like to go when I can. But there's a heads up for you. I have to tell you. Okay, so let me tell you the news stories briefly first. And then I'll tell you what the news stories prompted me to do. I'm not going to go into big details with this. Just here's the takeaway. Mobile gaming ain't going anywhere. It's the biggest it's the belle of the ball. It's the biggest moneymaker out there. Bungie is now reportedly has been working for 2 years on Destiny for mobile. They're working on it with the same developer that did Diablo Immortal. So if you're one of those folks who review bombed it, get ready to, I guess, be an asshole again. I mean, unless you were review bombing it for a valid reason. But we talked about that. But it's a new title, and I guess it's now Sony, right? So whatever money they make is going to go to Sony. But maybe that's another reason Sony bought them. They've got a hit game in Japan right now, Sony, but they clearly, could stand with expanding their mobile footprint in success. So this is coming. I don't know if they've announced a release date for it yet. The only real news is that it's being made. Takeaway, of course, is this shit is just getting bigger. There's another one. The Division gets another free-to-play spinoff. This one is for mobile. Division Resurgence is a brand new mobile-only spinoff of the shooter. It was announced earlier this week on the 6th. I'm trying to see when it's coming out. The game. It's The Division. The fucking Division. But it's on mobile. That's pretty much the gist of it. It's not like a strategy game or anything. It's a shooter. And that's what I wanted to talk about briefly. So, I mean, these fucking games, man, mobile is... deal with it. All of us hardcore console gamers, we're going to the margins, baby. So I finally bit the bullet and I was like, you know what? There's enough big games and interesting games that I want to play on mobile that I can't because I hate touch controls. And this is not an ad, but I reached out to the internet, said, what do you recommend? I don't like having these little stupid peripherals. Everybody said get Backbone. I got a Backbone. It's $99. Got it yesterday. First off, I like it because it's really fucking solid. A lot of those peripherals you get feel rinky-dink. But let me show you what's so fucking cool about this. So you put it in, you just slide the bottom of your phone into the little, port there, whatever it is, USB-C, I don't fucking know. And then the thing just grabs your phone and it's kind of, right, super simple. Controls great, feels great. Now here's the cool part. This is a portable Xbox. It's if you live near a server farm and you have decent internet, not amazing internet, just decent internet. This is basically it's the PS Vita, but it's for Xbox Series X, right? It's amazing. Just to lay in bed this morning and play Doom Eternal and Halo, I have to go down to the Rite Aid and get some glasses because I'm old, as I say, and my eyes are going. So I need to see a little bit better to play Halo well, but it plays wonderfully. I also have Stadia on here, which have all the free trials you can play. I was playing Cyberpunk because I own that on Stadia. It is. Let me just show you. It's you load it up. Here it is. This is Halo on a fucking phone. Again, I mean, your mileage will vary if you live in a place without really good internet or you're really far from servers. This is not for you. Don't worry about it. But maybe one day, probably one day, definitely one day, it will be. So it syncs my data. I mean, this is like having a fucking Xbox mobile. It's insane. And I've had it on my phone before. I get it. But having it with the controls suddenly makes it a viable choice to sort of what you're playing. It's going to be hard for me to show you how good this plays, but I'll just show you real quick, just to give you an idea. But it's really fucking cool. I can't play the game like this, but this is capture the flag. in probably the worst Halo level. I forget. There I am. Look at me. Look at me. I'm still wearing my Christmas outfit. Right. So, I mean, let's see. I'm trying to play this, watching it backwards. Let's see. I mean, it feels great. It feels just like Halo. Let's see. That's the walk button. Yeah, I'm not showing you. I'm just showing you the speed, but I can't play this game like this. Oh my God. But look at it. It's a fucking portable Xbox, man. I don't care. Be salty about the future if you fucking want, man. Be salty about the goddamn future if you want. But this is where it's going. And if you want to, look, think about it. Dad, I want an Xbox for the holidays. Oh, I can't find one. We can't afford one. Don't worry about it. Get me a fucking backbone for $100 and I'll use my phone and a subscription to Game Pass. Come on now. It's pretty fucking cool. And again, I don't know. Let me check real quick. If let me check if PlayStation. I want to check if PlayStation has PS Plus, and if they don't, I'm sure they will. They have an app for the PC, but I don't know if they have a phone. Stream to phone. Can you use PlayStation Plus on Android? Currently, you can only use it remote play. Hopefully, they add PS Plus to phones. Yeah, come on now, Sony. Can you imagine? I mean, then this becomes the star. Get a phone, get this. Again, if you're in a good location, you don't need a console. I know I want to own it. You can still buy your game, I imagine, and own it digitally, but you can fucking stream it. And, you don't have to buy a console. Come on, man. Anyway, do with that what you will. I think it's exciting. I love Backbone. Thank you guys for recommending it. All right, fellas, that has been Gabbin' and Games. That's it. Listen, this was Gabbin' and Games. There's more stories I wanted to talk about, but I want to get this up and posted. It's already long enough. If you've stuck around this long, thank you very much. If you're looking for the other ads, if you're a God of War member, like, where's my ad? I'm going to start splitting up the ads a little bit. So like tomorrow or Monday on Gabbin' and Games Live, I will do the ads we didn't do today. But again, please go to the link tree. Check that shit out. We got really good people here sponsoring this show. And I think you're going to really dig a lot of the cool stuff they make. Again, don't forget the merch. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're listening, thank you. Rate the podcast. I hate that all that shit helps, but all that shit helps. It's an algorithmic world in which we live, and we have to tell the Matrix what we like and don't like. So if you like it, if you don't worry about it. I don't want your fucking pity likes, but if you like it, let the algorithm know. I would appreciate it. Fellas, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you were well. Filettis, I hope you are well. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you. I might be streaming Madison tonight, but I'll definitely see you online. If not more this weekend, I'll see you for sure. Gabbin' and Games Live on Monday around 1 or 2. I don't know when. Sometimes Monday. You'll know. Follow me on Twitter. That's it. Be well, everybody. Thank you, everyone.